QCT is a database that we'll utilize to run all of our monthly reports for our quality circles. Those monthly reports are distributed, but in case you don't want to wait till the end of the month to run your data to know where you're at, this tutorial video will show you how to run your own reports using a template that I created just for you guys at QC Shop Windows and also any member of leadership that wants to understand where their teams are at with their quality circles. So on the portal, there's a link to the QCT database right there. When you click that link, it's going to pull open your QCT homepage. There's a couple of sheet tabs that we're going to be looking at. There's a search sheet tab and a forms sheet tab. So the template that I have is under that form sheet tab for you guys. So if you click on forms, the second one there, QC Shop Window Report Template, I'm going to click on that to open it up. And while it opens up, there are three sheet tabs on this template. Three sheet tabs on the template. The first sheet tab is where we paste some data, then we have a pivot table data, and then we're going to show some graphs inside there. Before we do that, I'll enable editing on this one. And you could save this on your desktop, or it's always going to be there in QCT if you just want to download it fresh every time, and that's fine. So on the right, I have our template. On the left, I have QCT. I'm going to go back on QCT to the search tab, and I'm going to drop down where it says themes report. I'll click on themes report. Let me maximize this so we can see all of the data here. So on the themes report, we have some output data on the left-hand side and some form or some fields in the middle, filters in the middle so that we could adjust stuff. On the output data, I'm going to check all because I want all of the data that's in QCT. And on that filters, the little green button there to say add an expression, I'm going to click on that. And you could add some fields, anything that you're really looking for. So if you're looking for a specific cost center, you could type in the cost center there, um, and you could enter that cost center, press the search results, and find the data just for that cost center. If you wanted to look at a specific employee ID to see if you have one person in particular that is in QCT, you could look it up that way as well. What I'll do is I'll run it by last activity. I want to check and see who has been active greater than or equal to the beginning of this year. This is how I run all of our plant-wide reports. So I'll pick January the 1st, 2020. And normally I'll press the show results and it'll show all of the data for all of the plant. For this example, it's too much data. So I'm going to add another expression here and I'm going to say the circle department is maybe equal to assembly 1. So now I'm only going to be looking at the assembly 1 data. You guys probably don't need to do that other part. You're just going to have the data for whatever shop you have access to. So once I have assembly 1 data that is active this year, I'm going to export to Excel. I'll press open. It's going to ask if I'm sure. I'll just press the yes button whenever that pops up. Let me minimize that. So yes, and so what it's going to open up search results data. So all the data that I just searched. I'm going to enable editing. So here on the left, I've got the search results data. Here on the right, I have our template. So there's a couple things I have to do to the search results data first. Let me maximize this so we can see everything. When I run the reports, I omit the group leaders in the reports. I'm only really looking for participation of the team leaders, of the team members, and our variables. So what we'll do is remove the group leaders. Now, if you're just running some data and you just want to see everybody, you don't have to do this part, but this is what we'll do. So when I click on that little triangle there on the left, it's going to highlight everything. I'm going to apply a filter to all of these. Once I have that filter, I'll down click or drop down on the job title, and I'm just going to sort from A to Z. So now I'm looking for the group leaders, and I see them here. What I'm going to do is on the leftmost row column, I'm going to highlight the group leaders. I'm going to right click in that little green area, and I'm going to delete group leaders from the list. So what we have left are just the team members, as mentioned before. One thing that I will do on our reports for accurate participation, I will remove duplicate team members as well. But again, you don't have to do that on your reports if you don't want to. So I have my search results here on the left, the template on the right. On the left-hand side, I'm going to Control A to highlight all, to highlight everything. I'll press Control C to copy everything. And on the template, where it says paste here on that first sheet tab, paste search results data here. I'm just going to right click inside that first column and I'm just going to paste the data inside there. Once I do that, I'll maximize this so we can see it. So these three sheet tabs we have, the paste, the pivot table data, and this and the graph, I've already pasted. I'll click on that second sheet tab, pivot table, and I'm going to right click inside this area and I'll press refresh. And now it refreshes with the data that I just dropped inside there. And you can see it have a grand total of 123 people in each one of these cost centers that are participating. To get your participation, you'll just have to cross-reference that with however many people are in that cost center, and you'll get your participation for your department. So now we have this data inside here. I can go over to the graph sheet tab, and now for each one of those cost centers, this shows us how many people in each one of those cost centers are participating. So as a really quick, you just copy the data, paste it inside here, refresh this second sheet tab, and then you could quickly visualize information there. A couple other things that you can do if you want to take it to the next level. If you click on that graph, it's going to pull up your pivot chart fields. Right now, I just have it looking at the count of employee ID and the circle cost center just to show this graph over here. But you could do pretty much whatever you want to with all of this data. Say, for example, if I want to know what is the primary KPI that all of these teams are working on, I just drag that down here. And I can see that the majority of my teams are working on productivity related KPIs. Maybe some are working on safety related KPIs as well. So that's something you could pull inside there. Let's say I want to check and see what step each one of those circles are on. So I'll just drag in the step in progress. I'll drag that down here as well. And you can see here, a couple are in pre-work, maybe the majority of them are root cause analysis step 4. So you can get that kind of a data. Let's say if I wanted to look over here, maybe one more example of maybe last activity. When was our last activity? I'll drag that down here and I could see that January had some activity. The majority of our activity was in February, and one cost center or one circle cost center has some data in March. So really dynamic, a lot of the information that you could pull from here to do some quick data collection or just to understand what your basic participation is. So if you have any questions, please shoot me an email, benjamin.bettis@toyota.com, and I'll get those questions answered for you guys. All right.